QJ.
Thank you. Joy to be here. And I'm going to make you work. How does that feel? Excellent. So this is my mantra, one of my mantras, be devoted to your audience. Why do you think I say that? Thank you. Joy to be here. And I'm going to make you work. How does that feel? Excellent. So this is my mantra, one of my mantras, be devoted to your audience. Why do you think I say that?
For two reasons.
Two reasons?
Yeah.
Go on.
One is you'll get the most out of it, and two is they'll get the most out of it and come back to you.
Fantastic. Give the man a round of applause, please. Very, very good. Very, very good. So I thought I would show you this first slide, which is the title of this talk, Fill Your Workshops with Ease, which is the title. And then there's a subtitle, which is Avoid 3 Massive Mistakes Speakers Make That Keep Their Event Rooms Empty. When I looked at this yesterday, I kind of rethought my whole talk. I'm not going to redo the whole thing, but I'm going to give you an added exercise now, because I realized that that slide is worth a lot of money. So what I want you to do, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. We're going to do the feedback as well after it. A couple of minutes to discuss amongst yourselves on the tables what you spot on that slide that you think is the principle I'm then going to be talking about for the next hour, in the next hour, because that is full of the stuff that I'm going to be sharing with you. And if you can spot it before I talk about it, and then you feed back to me what you spotted, I'll know what stage you are in the process, what your knowledge level is currently. Because this is all about the language you use. So 2 minutes, talk amongst yourselves, and then I'm going to ask each table to feed back one thing from that slide that makes it really valuable to me as a speaker. Go. Okay, 20 seconds. So, are we involved in the back of the room?
We are.
Would you like to give us your first point, please?
First point we noticed was
joking. The first point was fill your workshops with it. In other words, you take ownership and you take, it's my workshop and it's my work to do it. Whereas the mistakes, it's speakers that keep their event rooms empty. It's not my fault that it was empty. It was always, you kind of push the blame somewhere else. That's kind of the thinking.
Fantastic, thank you. This table here in front, at the back. Yep.
Our thinking was that it's something we don't naturally think about. Filling workshops isn't that easy and it's challenging. So if you can tell me how to make it easy, I'll be very interested.
Thank you. Next table.
We're just kind of looking at the comparison between the ease and the empty and kind of attractive curves up the hill and the avoid kind of
Yeah.
contrast.
Yeah. Great, thank you. This table.
Well, there's a positive in the headline, and there's two negatives in the sub-headline. People run away from pain faster than they run toward pleasure. And it would be a stronger headline to say, avoid 3 mistakes that keep your event rooms empty. Because that is the anxiety rather than the pleasure that you get from filling your workshops with these.
Fantastic. Front table. Is that okay?
Okay, so what I see.
Could you perhaps stand up and face the rest? Tell everyone else.
Okay, so what I've seen from this slide is that it appeals to people who are already filling up their workshops somehow, but they don't want to do it they don't want to spend too much effort on it because that's not what their
Very good.
main calling is.
Very good.
And then it taps into the fears, and probably everyone who speaks even a bit had this case of empty room when you come in and there is no one to listen to you. So it taps into this fear. So benefit and the fear.
Thank you. Thank you. This table.
I think this slide is very valuable for 2 reasons. It's very clear because it defines a problem, you know, which is to fill your workshops, and then it makes the promise of a solution.
Yep. Fantastic.
Yeah, you're gonna give us the 3 massive mistakes we're gonna not make.
Thank you. Thank you.
It also helps to be a young woman in your early 20s.
Ah. First person to have mentioned the young woman. The young woman is an important factor to that slide. I'll say no more. Next table, please.
I just want to say that it is a parenthetical thing, because the interesting thing is that, while filling your workshop with ease, of course, is very attractive, the big selling point is really the second thing. And so copywriters use this a lot. Ray Edwards loves that, incidentally. So very interesting to see it there, but it's visual.
Thank you. Third table here.
It's a marketing message.
Well, we know that. But what about it specifically makes it worth a lot of money?
The attention. It's an attention grabber.
Yes. And
then the avoid the 3 massive mistakes, that's educational. So you're going to educate them how to make the mistakes.
okay, fantastic. Thank you. And last but not least,
what we liked about was the contrast between the gain in filling your workshops with ease and the pain attached to mistakes that we're currently making. And as Philip said, I think that's more appealing because the chances are people sitting around this room who have looked to put on a workshop have made those mistakes. Coupled with that is the fact that you're giving us 3 mistakes, so I'm looking to find out if I'm making all 3 of them, so there's more in it for me. And finally, that image, because it's a smiling image and an attractive image, it leads me towards it rather than away from it, so I'm prepared to listen that little bit longer.
fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for giving me your feedback. I now know roughly where you are in the room in terms of your knowledge, and hopefully I can add to it. So let's move on. I'm going to combine the first 2 sessions. These are normally done as 2 sessions, which I combined into this hour, this 50 minutes, of 6, because obviously this is quite a big subject. But there are only 2 things involved. And those 2 things are, it's all about what do you say, and the other thing is, who do you say it to? That's it. Very simple concept, but putting into practice what I'm preaching is the hard part. The first slide that you all commented on, do you think somebody just came up with that overnight? Yes or no?
No.
That took a lot of work, and it isn't my original idea. I put my hand up. I stole that from somebody else. Not the precise words, but the whole way that's put together. And I want you all to steal it from me today and come up with your version for your workshop so that you can do as well as we're doing now by selling out our events. Who here would like to achieve that as an end result? That's virtually everybody. Fantastic. You're in the right place, because otherwise I'd have had to send you to the seminar that's down the hall and down there, and there's a room over there, but we don't have to worry about that. Great. So this is part of a program called QJ's Magnetize Your Audience. And what we need to do, the most important thing, and don't think about writing one word of copy or even putting your website together before you've done this. Because if you do this first, when you do your website, when you do all your messaging, when you do all your social media, it will have the power and impact that that first slide has. Because you don't need to overthink it. You always need to keep it simple. So we're going to be talking about your specific audience, their specific problem, and your specific solution to that problem. I suspect there are people in the room who've already done this in their business because they're kind of keen on marketing. Hands up anyone who's looked at this. Okay, and keep your hand up if you've absolutely solved this in terms of your marketing messages. You have. So you're filling your rooms already.
I sell to my website, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So everyone needs to talk to Mary Rose about how she does it after I've gone. So that's what we're going to do today. Anyone got any questions about that before we move on?
Are we going to get a copy of the slides, or should we just make them?
It's a great question. Let me answer it later. Let me answer it later, because it's all part of what we do to sell our events. If you were doing the entire course, which is not just magnetizing your audience, but it's also mesmerizing your audience, which is the way you deliver once people are in the room to make them fall in love with you, love your topic, and want to come back for more. But it's also monetize your audience, which is how you make money out of the whole thing, because you've got to have a business model which stacks up. That literally keeps people, once they're in your domain, keeps them coming back, and maybe you upserve into a mentoring program or a coaching program or whatever. But the point is, it's not just about getting people to one event, is it? Say no, QJ. No. It's not. So by the end of the course, if you were to do it all, you would find out what keeps your events empty, how to avoid costly mistakes. And obviously the most costly mistakes are your time, because money you can replace, time you can't, and how to attract your perfect clients. I want you to take lots of notes. Just write your hearts out, because that's where all the value will lie when you leave the room, okay? So just a little bit of history, how I got started. This is QJ, age 18. I did start in the school dormitory with a rock concert, and I kind of got the bug there and then. I love the idea of getting people into a room and giving them an experience. So we talk about education, information, and entertainment. Is that what the BBC's mantra is? So we're doing one or other of those things, and hopefully a combination. For me, it was always the entertainment came first. And I hope that you think, rather like Lottie said to all of us, you've got to be fun for people, haven't you? You're not necessarily a drama queen, but you've got to entertain people. Make sense, yes or no? Yeah, cool. So how did I get started? Well, back in the 1970s, and of course there's no one here old enough to remember that, the way we got people into the room, and have I got it there? Was with something like this. Now then, can you all see that? You probably can't read it. It doesn't matter, because I'm going to tell you what's on it. So obviously, this was designed by someone with a great eye for colour. My girlfriend at the time, Lisa. She was a lovely girl. 100 Way was the name of the band, because we were heavy, man. Return of the Original Band. That was a bit buzzy. Return of the Original Band. Oh, that sounds interesting. Anyone ever been to a comeback concert? Something like that? I don't know whether it's true, but anyway, it's good fun. St Thomas's Hall, Canterbury, Saturday, 28th of September, 8 p.m, 50p. The hall held about 100 people, so if we sold out, we made how much? 50 quid, which was just amazing. So how did we get people to turn up? Well, I want you to think about this. Back then, does anyone remember being around in the 70s? No, don't put your hands up. We had posters, we had flyers, and that was about it. The rest of it was all word of mouth. It was all about the community we were a part of. It was all about creating a buzz. So you'd go down the coffee shop. You'd say, oh, you come into the gig on Saturday night. Where's that? Yeah, it's St Thomas's Hall. Who's playing? Blah, 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 blah. You know, and all that sort of stuff, right? Now, what I want you to think about is I'm going to put on the screen now a few things that go through the minds of the audience thinking about whether or not they should turn up to your gig. And then you can tell me whether you think these things still apply today or not. Any of that resonate for you? So is that still true today, yes or no? It is true. So what's the difference between the consideration to turn up to a gig in the 1970s and the consideration to turn up to a gig today? What's the difference?
More information there.
More information?
More variety.
More variety.
Less variety.
Sorry?
Less variety.
Less variety?
People go for what their tribe goes for.
They absolutely do. And that's in there as well, isn't it? It's you know, my mate's going, that's your tribe, yeah?
Too much choice.
Too much choice, absolutely. And what?
The audience are more educated.
They're more educated.
Higher expectations.
These, doesn't it sound frightening when you mention all these things? You think, well, how am I going to stand out from every other event that's on? And that's the challenge. That is the challenge.
And also now as well, you could go and have a look at them performing and decide based on what you see.
Absolutely, you can do your research beforehand. Okay.
Is there any information online?
Sorry?
Is there any information online?
Yeah, exactly, all of that. So, what I've found is that over the years, I've become much clearer in my thinking about marketing, how to get bums on seats, because it's become absolutely necessary to be totally focused, A, on your audience, B, on what you're offering them, and C, are they going to pay you for it? Does that make sense? You've got to have that focus, because in the past, it just didn't apply to that degree. It wasn't as sophisticated. So who here, because we're speakers, we're keen to speak, aren't we? And we think usually to get bums on seats, it's all about us. And we just have to be brilliant. And if we're brilliant enough, everyone will turn up. Yeah? Anyone ever thought that? I know I have. And it's just not true because you're brilliant and, 2 people came. It's really annoying. So who here is willing to, based on what I say, share with you today, to change their thinking just a little bit about how you're going to approach this? And who else, keep your hand up if you're also prepared to change your behaviors around how you do your marketing, how you look at it and then put it out there. Great. So you're in the right place. So harsh truth number 1 is, it's not about you. It really isn't about you. Harsh truth number 2 is, it's not about them. What do I mean by that? Anybody? Philip, you've got an answer. I can see the smile on your face. You know the answer.
If they don't turn up, it's not their fault.
That's a brilliant observation. It's not their fault if they don't turn up, absolutely. So whose fault is it?
It's yours.
Yeah, it's our fault if they don't turn up. So what I mean, and this is a very, very important concept that Alec and I have worked on brilliantly. Thank you for taking it on board so quickly. What we tend to think of is there's an audience out there that we want to get into our room. Yes? And the way we do that is to put a message out there that gets them all excited and they all turn up. Yeah? It's not about them at all. It's about each person. It's about each one person that you want to get into the room. This doesn't apply if you're a celebrity, you're already attracting thousands of people, even hundreds of people, if you've got a brand that's recognized and people will come anyway. But when you're starting out, which is where most of us are going to be for our entire career, sorry to share that with you, but it's true, because you ain't going to be a celebrity, you're going to be maybe a little celebrity in a niche, which is fantastic. It's probably all you need to do, and you could still make quite a lot of money out of that. But when you're in that place, it's really about each person. Because the truth is, there's no one way of filling a room. There are lots of ways of getting 1 or 2 people into the room. Now, I don't know how you all got here today, but I've certainly done campaigns where I know a couple of people turned up because of a text I sent them, a couple more people went on the interweb and found something, a couple more people got an email. You really need to be covering all bases. Make sense? So if you start thinking like that, and start thinking about segregating your list or your targets, what message do you need to give those people, that group of people, or that one person that's going to make them turn up? And by the way, it's okay to pick up the phone and tell people, hey, we've got a gig going on. Do you fancy coming along? Oh, yeah, I'll be there. Yeah? Oh, well, can you pay now? Can I take your credit card details? Start thinking like that. You do all take credit cards, don't you? Hands up who takes credit card payments? Okay, everyone in the room should have their hand up, because you're eliminating an easy route to market if you don't take credit cards. And even take it over the phone. You don't have to have a machine or anything. If they're on the telephone, would you like to come? Oh, yeah, have you got a credit card? Don't even ask them if they want to pay, how they want to pay. Just say, oh, have you got your credit card there? And it's the script, isn't it? Sean will know because he's the sales guy. It's just the script. Yes, Lottie.
What's the difference then between directly credit carding, where you're going to get charged a fee anyway, to using something like Eventbrite or a ticketing tool?
Oh, well, I'll answer that later. Big question. Okay. So the important point is marketing is a close contact sport. It's one-to-one. And so social media, it's one-to-one. Shock horror! Social media isn't broadcasting to loads of people and telling them all to turn up. Who thought it was? It's not. It's not. It's the conversation that gets people into the room, not the broadcast. If you're really good, if you're a black belt in starting conversations on social media, fantastic. Write that one down. Become a black belt in starting conversations. Because when you play tennis, if you hit the ball over the net and the other person doesn't hit it back, how good a game is that going to be?
Great for you.
Really? It's going to be terrible. You want to get a conversation going back and forth, back and forth. And at the point where you know that person is giving you a buying signal, they're warm, they're saying, actually, yeah, I'd like to come along. That's the point at which you say, well, have you got your credit card there? Yeah, no, it sounds really good. The last thing you want is for them to be saying, well, how much is it? When I was running these workshops, that was the last thing they would say. They'd say, yeah, we want to come to your workshop. Yeah, when can we go? Have you got spaces? Yeah, we've got spaces. Great. Okay, oh, and by the way, how much is it? They didn't care because they were already sold. This is stuff that works, doesn't it, Sean? Because you know about all this. Say yes, QJ. Excellent. So marketing is intimate. When you're one-to-one, the word relationship is bandied around too much because it's not really explained what it is. But it's a buying, selling relationship. You've got something people want, and they love you for it, and they're prepared to pay for it. It's not just a chat. It's not a social chat. It's a conversation. Marketing is intimate, especially when you're starting out. Especially when you're starting out. So who knows what are the 3 massive mistakes speakers make? Hands up, anyone? Have a guess. Alec.
Sending the same message out to everybody.
Great answer. Did you hear that, everyone? Yeah. Sending the same message out to everyone is a massive mistake.
They've got nothing to say.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, no.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just fundamental, isn't it? Eamon.
It's not clear what problem you solve.
Oh, brilliant. It's not clear what problem you solve. Really good. So let me run through them, and I'll do it like the countdown to the top 10, top of the pops, from number 3 to number 1. So the 3 massive mistakes speakers make that keep their event rooms empty are: number 3, no list. If you don't have a list of prospects or people likely to come or interested in coming, you've got ineffective marketing. So let me say that again, and let me get you involved in this because it's got to be interactive. If you have no list, your marketing is what? Ineffective. Great. Number 2 is no focus. And there are lots of foci, is that the right plural for the Latin? Foci, focuses that you need to have. One would be on who are you talking to? Who is your message for? Another is what is it that you're selling? As we just said, what's the problem you solve? There are lots of them. So if you don't have that focus and you're just random or all over the place, I've got a workshop, it's NLP mastery. It's really unfocused. What is NLP mastery? That's the first question you can get. Half people don't even know what you're talking about. Particularly if you're trying to teach people something they don't know already. Does that make sense? If you want to trade, it's like trying to sell an expensive seminar to people who haven't got any money. Do you want to learn how to have some money? It's £100 to learn that, but I haven't got any money. Does that make sense? It's kind of ridiculous, but people do it all the time. And number 1 is no system, because without a system, both live system, like it's the stuff that you do, and an online system, you're going to be wasting a lot of time. It gets very time consuming, so you've got to have both. So if you have no system, your marketing is what? Ineffective. Okay. Here's a little acronym I came up with that should be helpful to you. Write it down. For list, likely income from a specific theme, title, or topic. And what that means is your list should comprise of people that you've already qualified as likely income, which means they will probably pay you money. They have the money. They will probably pay you the money to learn about your specific topic, title, or theme. The theme might be NLP. It might be how to, bust out of your comfort zone. But actually, the title, Fill Your Workshops, is the most powerful of those. So what type of business are you in? Anyone? Marketing. You're all in marketing. It's true. So you've got to focus on marketing. Now, there are 3 reasons this event is sold out. Do you want to know what they are? Let's give the man a round of applause. Fantastic. It's true. It's true. He's done a fantastic job. But seriously now, we have a list. Number 3, we have a list, a specific one, that Alec and I, worked on. We have a focus based on what we know people on our list want. And Alec had already come up with the theme for the year. Is it for a year or more?
For the year.
For the year, which is?
Progress your career by making money from speaking.
There you are. Progress your career by making money from speaking. Now, do you notice the difference between the first and the last part of that sentence? Progress your career is what?
A goal.
No, it's a process. It's a process. Make money from speaking is a result. It's quantifiable, yeah? Note the difference. Really important to understand the difference when you're writing copy in the future. Number 1, we have a system. And the system really put the pressure on Alec, and that's why I'm really doubly grateful that he did it. We went painstakingly through. We segregated the list. We decided people in which category and therefore which communication they should get and which communication might work. And the proof is in the pudding, so excellent. So what does no list really mean? Well, it means no people. There's no one for you to talk to. So that's why the list is important. So here's a thought. Have a think about that for a minute. And have a think about this. Now, what does that really mean to you? Anyone? You can't cater for people who don't turn up, so we must focus on those who do. What am I trying to say? Obviously, really badly.
Give them value to take away with them.
Nope.
I think if your expectations are really high about having a big audience, you
Absolutely, absolutely. What it means is that we get disappointed very easily when we don't meet our own objectives. So you put on this event and you get 6 people in the room and you were expecting 60. So what do? You think, oh my God, no one's turned up, I've got to do more. And I've had that. I've had conversations with people who say, I obviously need to do more of what I'm doing. Why? Because you've got 6 people and you want more. I said, what about the 6 people who are going to turn up? Yeah, well, that's great, that's fine, but look, let's get more people in the room. So all your attention, all your focus goes on the people who aren't there. And actually, it probably won't work, because if you only got 6, you probably were doing the wrong things anyway. So why are you going to do more of that? So what you need to do is to focus on those who turn up and deliver what? Value. Huge value. You've got to give them a remarkable product. A remarkable product that they go away and tell who about it? Everyone. They tell everyone about it. Now, if you only got 6 people and you delivered a remarkable product and they go and tell another 6 people, what happens over time? You get a bloody big room full of people, which is actually what you're after. So focus on people who do turn up. We call these people your specific audience. Okay. So your specific audience is the people you're talking to. Make sense? Does anyone here, just put your hand up, show of hands, who already has a very specific audience that they're talking to? Hands up. Okay. What's your specific audience, Sean?
Experts and leaders.
Experts and leaders. Okay. So that covers quite a lot of ground, isn't it?
Yeah,
it could be the leader of the local authority, it could be the leader of a big corporate, it could be a business leader who's a big shot in a town. Still a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also further segmented in the sense experts and leaders who want to be key influencers.
Great, so hang on to that. There's a second part of the sentence, which is in Sean's message, which is key. But the actual who he's talking to, his description of the people he's talking to is still quite a big sector. Anyone else who had their hands up? Yes?
People who lack confidence or think they lack confidence.
Okay, so how many people on the planet could that apply to? Everybody, yeah, it's good. Excellent. Someone over here?
Small business owners who know they need to do more social media and can't afford the time or resources to do it.
Wow, that took about how long to say? Yeah, it's a bit long, but good. It's good. I'm not gonna diss it. One more for luck. Someone at the back. Yes.
Got one, Alan, so I repeat it. It's data security or death. It's a tagline from my.
Sorry, the audience. We're talking about who's your specific audience?
Small to medium enterprises, micro businesses, self-employed people who need mobile working in the cloud.
Stop. You said medium to small to medium enterprises, and then you said micro businesses.
Yeah.
Aren't they 2 specific audiences?
Self-employed people.
Oh, it's getting worse. Stop. So you see what I'm doing? I'm not meaning, there'll be other people in the room worse than you. So, do you see what I'm getting at? It's too much. It's too much. Because the question is, do they know you're talking to them? That's the important thing. Does your audience know the message is for them? So anyone in the room, have you ever got a junk mail, snail mail? In the mail, you've got this envelope. And when it's addressed to you, dear Henry Rose Lee, what do you do with it, Henry Rose?
Chuck in the bin.
No, when it's addressed to you,
It's just me.
you'll open it. And if it's addressed to anyone who had the occupier, that one definitely goes in the bin, doesn't it? Because they're not interested in you enough to even name you. Okay. So we're going to play a little game now. This is a railway station. Anywhere, I'd like you all to stand up and imagine that you are going about your business, you're at the railway station, you've either got to catch a train, you're waiting for someone, you're looking at the message board, etc. And this is my grandma's assistant. Henry Rose is going to be the station announcer. We're just going about your business. Not too loud. She doesn't have a microphone. give you a little bit of sort of background noise. So this is the station background noise. Okay. And then, you answer. Okay, so who was that message for in the room? So is anyone going to respond to that message? Was it an important message? You don't know. Okay, so lesson number one is a lot of your marketing will be received like that, as if it's a foreign language. We're now going to go on to the second station announcement. I want you to, again, decide, is this new, is the station announcement for you, yes or no? Louder. Okay, so is anyone going to respond to that? What, no one? I'll let you listen. You're going to respond? What are you going to do? Okay, great. So Lottie is a fantastic audience for you. But she responds to all your messages, even if they're not for her. Fantastic. Let's do another one. Okay, you get the point. So, let me explain. Tell me when I'm going too far forward. Can you still see? Can you still see? Can you still see? Right, okay. So we have a pyramid here. What I'm going to explain is how you get from any message, which is for 7 billion people on the planet, and there's one person, which is Lottie up there. How do you get closer to the top? Because you actually don't want to be targeting anyone who isn't potential for turning up, do you? That's actually quite difficult to do. So shall I share with you how to do it? Got any ideas? Anyone got any ideas? Personalization? Yeah, could be. The clue was in the very first slide that I showed you. There was one word on that slide. Actually, there were 2 words if you're good at lateral thinking. 2 words on the slide that I showed you that's very valuable.
For speakers.
It's for speakers.
That gets us.
It's exactly right. That is exactly right. That's exactly right. And so the further up you go, you might target women, for example. So if you target women or men, you've got only 3.5 billion people, haven't you, that your message would be right for. But you think at that point you're actually still not going to break through the clutter and noise, are you? You know, this is my NLP course for women. It's still too broad. It's not specific enough. I'm a musician by trade, so if it was how to get more music pupils for musicians, do you think that might appeal to me? That might attract my attention? Of course it would. So anything that's speakers, small business owners, etc., is going to be much more successful. So you just want to get as high up here as you can, and of course we can add qualifiers like Sean did, who struggle with certain problems or not. And we're going to do an exercise on that right now. So, how do we get higher up the pyramid? We use what's called an egoic label. So your number one egoic label, of course, is your name. You know, Sean Weaver, would you like to come to an event designed specifically for you to help you with your eyesight or whatever it happens to be, or to help you deliver your messages back. That's fantastic. And by the way, when you're doing email marketing, of course you've got the person's name. Of course that message is specifically for them. But that takes me back to the point we were saying about what we did with Alec was make sure that each message for each of you was the right one. And a lot of that was based on whether you'd been before. Have you only been to PSA once? Have you kind of been on and off? And then you really think about the psychological state of the recipient before you write anything. What state are they going to be in? What are they going to be doing when that email pops into their inbox? Are they somebody who has too many emails? Or are they somebody who likes to get an email? Would it be better as a text? Now, to get this correct requires you to do an awful lot of research, doesn't it? It really does. And you know what? When you're starting out, it's worth it. Do you think it was worth doing what you did, Alex?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Yep. So the man says yes. And it took you, how much more time do you think you spent than you would, how many times more? Was it 2 times more, 3 times more than you would
It
have?
was certainly a multiple.
It was a multiple.
Yeah, but it seemed to be more focused, and because of that, it was actually more enjoyable to do it.
Oh, great.
So I actually enjoyed it.
Fantastic. Yeah, yeah, brilliant. So, I'm going to I'll just take some of these, if we can hand out these workbooks. Thank you. Thank you. So, on page, actually, could I just borrow one back a second? I'll give it back to you. I want you to work in tables. On page 2, you'll find a whole list of egoic labels, examples of. And I want you to be creative and come up with how it can be more specific within your egoic label. So if you're just targeting SMEs or small business owners, can you chunk down further? That's an NLP term, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know. Chunk down means you make it smaller, a smaller group of people, a subgroup within your group that actually you could go after. Make sense? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So you've got a couple of minutes just to play with some egoic labels on page 2. Either pick one or come up with your own, and then we'll talk further.
Is it just meant to be one word? Or could you have
It can be 2. Yeah, it can be 2.
maybe 3?
What have you got in mind?
Do you potential conference speaker?
Conference speaker is the egoic label, right?
No, it's not somebody who I know who's spoken at a conference, but I'm thinking somebody who might want to be speaking at a conference. They may not have already spoken at one, but they may
You've
want
got
speak
to.
one.
Okay, let me explain. I've just been asked a question. An egoic label is powerful if the person responds to it. In other words, if I say, put your hand up if you're a speaker, and you say, I'm a speaker, you own that, just like you own your name. So, are you a musician? Yes, I'm a musician. So it's what they believe they are. You've got to label them as. And then they are showing that they're responsive to that egoic label. Make sense?
Yeah.
And the more powerful, the more emotive a label it is, or the more strongly they feel they are it. Are you a golfer? Anyone, put their hand up if they're a golfer in the room. So we've got a golfer in the room. So you feel quite strongly that you play golf, don't you? Yeah. And you're quite proud to be a golfer.
Sure.
Yeah, so there's an emotion around it. So if we were selling a course to golfers, Eamon would turn up. He'd at least give it a look, wouldn't you? Yeah.
But wouldn't he give it a look, but then there's still, those golf labels that people say, well, I play golf, but I'm not a golfer.
Then they wouldn't be in that target market. It's really, keep it simple. Keep your thinking very simple. You only want people who are serious about the subject you're teaching them. Because if you get people who aren't very serious, you don't have any longevity in your business. Yeah? If you're going to create a remarkable product that's amazing, yeah? You only want to sell it to people who want to be that amazing as well. Because otherwise you've just got an average business. Why would you want to do that? You don't want to be average. There are plenty of people out there, and they're mostly not members of the PSA. Seriously,
Sorry,
Yeah.
From our perspective here and now, we're using this as a list to be able to chunk down.
Yeah, or choose one. If you can't chunk down today, then obviously this is something for you to take away and work on and think, well, have I got a subcategory of any of these that I could be, delivering my service to, selling my product to?
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's really important that you get that specific audience firmly in your mind. Do you have one?
A bunch.
You got a bunch. Okay. Okay, can I ask for some volunteers to give their answers? Who has their specific audience nailed? They absolutely know. They were never going to change it anyway, even if they didn't see me today. So yes, can we have
ambitious entrepreneurs?
Sorry?
Ambitious entrepreneurs.
Ambitious entrepreneurs. Does that work? Yes or no? Anyone else in the room?
Well, you can improve on it. It's good, but you can improve on it.
Yeah. So why don't you try it out on this room? Why don't you ask if there are any of those people in the room and see if you get a response. Put your hands up if.
Sorry, what do you,
Ask the room if there are any.
Hands up those who are ambitious for their business, to grow their business.
There you go. So it works, yes? It does work. It's not very specific. It could be better. But it's very good.
Yeah.
It's a very good start. Yes, Don.
Well, I think what he said the second time was the one that got me to put up the hand. When he said ambitious entrepreneurs, that's kind of, am I one of those? So I think the second way he put it was...
Yeah. And that's fantastic because we are obviously going to make phrases or sentences out of it. But the point is, wouldn't it be great if you could actually hit the nail on the specific audience first, and then when you add other bits to it, it makes it even more powerful. That's the point I'm trying to get across. Because my audience for this, which is speakers, again, is pretty generic. Speakers, I could say professional speakers. I could qualify it still further. The whole point of this session is you're now thinking about it. I want you to take this away and use it and get results for your business. I want you to double your income this year from speaking if you're going to be doing workshops. This is the way to do it, because we haven't even started talking about your workshop and how brilliant that is, because you've got to get people in the room first, otherwise you've got no workshop to deliver. Make sense? Anyone else got their specific audience nailed?
Yeah, I also work as an event organizer, so I put down runners.
Oh, fantastic. Runners, because there can't be too many of them. And they would be a very specific group of people, yeah?
Yeah, and when you have the three who's, I have club runners, casual runners, and newbies.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to target all three, which are uniquely individual.
Yeah. Great. Fantastic. Okay. So the sentences that might appear, I could just give you some examples. Speakers who want to fill their workshops. So the egoic label is speakers who want to fill their workshops is the rest of that sentence. This is not marketing copy. I must stress this. We're nowhere near the marketing copywriting yet. But we're trying to get into our own brains how we think about it. So when we write the marketing copy, it'll be really effective, emotive, attention-grabbing, and magnetic for those we want to attract. Female leaders is a great egoic label. Do you have a target audience of female leaders? Yes. Henry Rosalie? Yes. You do? Because actually we're in business together and we have that target audience, I know. Who feel isolated at work. We have been using that in our corporate business. And it is like a magnet. It's absolutely like a magnet because the pain is in there. Do you feel isolated at work? You're on your own, you're a leader in a corporate. Of course it works. Start thinking along these lines for yourself. Young dads.
Sorry.
Yes.
That second one, who's it aimed at? Is it people working in corporates or is it for individuals?
Doesn't matter. It's aimed at female leaders. If you call yourself a female leader, if you would put your hand up and say, I'm a female leader, then you're in our target market. It's further qualified with the rest of the marketing.
If it's a corporate or an individual, does that then influence the way in which you aim to reach?
You're thinking like the person who's doing the selling. Switch your mind to be one of the audience. You are now a female leader. What's your response going to be to that? That's how you've got to think. Don't think about yourself as a speaker or delivering a workshop. Think about yourself as an audience member. That's where everyone goes wrong, by the way, and it's really hard.
The first thing that jumped into my mind was a language intelligible.
Okay, fine. There's no wrong or right about what they think of, because they're never right. Somebody said very early on the audience isn't wrong for not turning up. You're just going to make it more likely that they will turn up. Young dads who want to lose 20 pounds. Now that could be anyone who wants to lose 20 pounds. But do you think if you're a young dad and you see that, you're more likely to go to that class than you will go to one that's got women in it, or people of older age or whatever? Of course. And I'm going to come round to the question that you're all thinking right now. Addicts. That's a really strong egoic label, isn't it? Desperate to get clean. The other point about this, you couldn't put that in a personal email. You can say, are you an addict? What? Who? How dare you? But the great thing about marketing is that you can say all sorts of things that describe the pain, and because you're not there in the room with them, they think, yeah, actually, you're right. Yeah, oh, flipping hell, that is me. That is me. So I need to seek that one out. Does that make sense? Because online, it's all very private searches. So that's why you can put a lot of pain into your messages. Whereas if I go up to you and you say, do you want to be a better speaker, Alec? Because you're really not very good. You say, you know, you can't do that in that sense. Did I have another one? This is one of my favourite guys. Marketing for hippies. How cool is that for an egoic label? What do you think he does? He helps hippies market themselves. This guy, by the way, has anyone seen this bloke before? This guy's hugely successful. Hugely successful. Guess where he operates from? California. How many people in California think, I'm a hippie, I need some marketing for my business? He aligns himself, even the clothes he wears, just perfect. So that's a great egoic label, hippies. Hipsters is another one. You know, I could do marketing for hipsters. Do you think some people any hipsters in the room? No, I ain't going to do that. I'm not going to do that one. But do you see where I'm going with this? It's just, it's kind of obvious. So I just want to finish this section with, this is a pub that we used to play in London many, many years ago in New Cross. Anyone know the White Hart at New Cross in London? Okay, so this pub, when we played, was frequented by two different audiences. One was Afro-Caribbeans, so there were lots of guys there, and guess what sort of music they wanted? Reggae. They wanted reggae. And the other audience is an audience that you might actually have some affinity with, is Irish people. And they all wanted Diddley I Die, of course. But did we give it to them? No, you can't. You can't, sorry. Diddley I Die. So, yeah. So what's the problem with, why did we stop playing there? We did about 3 gigs. Why did we stop playing there?
There's too many
You're all finding it so funny, I'm going to have to tell you. Thank Evelyn. Speak up. Listen to what Evelyn said.
Half the audience and you annoyed the other half.
Yeah, exactly. You can never please all the people in the room at the same time. That's why it's so important to have a specific target audience. You can't serve 2 different audiences simultaneously. Most marketing has 0 focus. You are off the grid. You're probably off the scale compared to most businesses now because your focus is very, very, very clear. In the Magnetize Your Audience program, we're looking at audience. We're just going to finish off with problem and solution. But why are these things so important? Why, when you get all 3 correct, does it make a big difference? Why do you think? Because it gives you something very, very special. Do you want to know what it gives you? It gives you this. It gives you your attractor factor. And it really, I mean, that's my name for it, which is a bit of fun. But that is so important to have an attractor factor that works every time. Your marketing needs to be so specific And you want to remember this slide. It's why I've made it so graphic that it hurts. Your marketing has to hurt. It has to talk about a problem that people feel emotionally attached to. Okay, so move on to the next page in your workbook, page 4. What specific problem do you solve? How does your specific audience describe the problem, and what words do they use? You've got a minute on that. Go. And we're looking for you to be able to say it in as few words as possible. Give you an example. The problem I solve is 2 words. It's empty rooms. That's the equivalent I'm looking for from you. Empty rooms is the problem I solve for speakers. So who's got 10 words or less? Hands up. 9 words or less? 8? 7? 6? 5? 4? 3? Oh, you're doing well. 2? 1? No one. Put your hands up 2. Who's got 2 words?
Cluttered minds.
Cluttered minds.
No sales.
No sales.
Cash strapped.
Sorry?
Cash strapped.
Cash strapped.
Boring presentations.
Boring presentations.
Clear direction.
Clear direction is not a problem unless they should have no direction. Does that make sense? Are you saying that clear direction is a problem? It's the solution.
Self-belief.
Self-belief is not a problem. Lack of self-belief is a problem.
No confidence.
Yeah.
Lack of confidence.
Lack of confidence, that's 3 words, but we'll excuse you that one. Okay. This is for you to take away and work on. Yes, last...
Board attendees.
Sorry?
Board attendees.
Oh, I like that. Board attendees. So that's for what? Speakers? Workshop leaders? MCs?
MC, it's for anyone attending a conference. Or
Yeah, no, it's good. Over here.
Financial security.
Financial security isn't a problem. That would be lovely to have, wouldn't it? So financial catastrophe would be a problem. Financial distress would be a problem. Yeah.
Flat lifestyle.
Flat lifestyle. Yeah, it's good.
Cybercrime.
Cybercrime. Yeah. Interesting. So is this making sense to everyone, yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
Excellent. So, for example, my problems included very poor attendance, no one's buying tickets, spend loads of time trying to market my events. These are my own thoughts, right? So you need to get into the heads of your clients. What are their thoughts about this? Not reaching enough people, don't know how other speakers do it. Because you see successful people doing what you're doing, don't you? And you're often quite jealous or envious. Well, how are they getting 100 people in the room? How are they getting 1,000 people in the room? So you've got to feed into those thoughts. Not going to do that today. Not going to do that. Actually, I will, just very, very quickly. I believe that everyone in this room has a way ahead skill where you're way ahead of everyone else in the room. Okay? I believe, wrongly or rightly, that I have a way ahead skill, and it's how to fill rooms for speakers or for events generally. But notice my marketing isn't how to fill your events, because that's bigger than how to fill your workshops. Yeah? So who here, let's have a hand up, who thinks they've got a way ahead skill? No one else in the room can touch them on what they do. Eamon.
I can help you to tell better stories and influence.
Better story. Just keep it short. Don't put 2 things in the sentence. Better Stories does it. Who here wants to tell better stories? So there's your market. Keep it short. Somebody else? Who said they? Yeah.
Increase confidence in front of an audience.
I'm sorry?
Increase confidence in front of an audience.
Increase confidence in front of an audience. Shall we be nice to you or horrid to you? Okay, who else thinks they can do that? You're not wrong, but you're going to make it a lot easier to sell you specifically. You know, the why buy from me question is what you need to work on. Why buy that from you? Because they can buy it from other people. Okay? So, what's your specific solution? You've got a minute, write it down. Okay, I'll take the first 3 hands up. Yes.
Using checklists to transform your business.
Okay, yeah.
Having a tight script or running order.
Sounds good, yeah. I get that for what you're talking about. See, that's all in alignment, isn't it? Everything that, sorry, your name is?
Lucy.
Everything that Lucy has said has been in alignment, so she's really clear in her head, her thinking about linking problem, audience, solution. Fantastic.
Answer the question, so what?
Sorry?
Answer the question, so what?
That's your solution.
That's my solution.
So you're still making them work. They have to work to get there, don't they?
Yes.
Okay. Well, don't you just want to offer them a solution? Because they won't buy something they've got to think about. People don't buy things they have to think about. They have to. It's really clear. You know, this is a widget, it's 6p. I'll give me 6p and you've got it. So you don't want to make it hard to suss out whether they want to buy it or not. Does that make sense to everyone? Don't make it hard, make it easy. I know where you're going with it. Let's talk about that later. That's an interesting one.
Teaching you to speak memorably.
Oh, teaching you to speak memorably. Fantastic. So look, take this all away, work on it. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is what form of language should you use to articulate your solution? Which is kind of where we started on the first slide. Because up till now, we haven't been copywriting. We've been using words to suss out how our thinking is clear or not. So do you want to know the answer to that? What form of language? Yes? No. No, it's not their language. Made me think there. Thanks for that. Okay. So, do you think this is the solution?
Whatever you want, whatever you like, whatever you say, you pay your money, you take your choice. Whatever you need, whatever you use, whatever you win, whatever you lose.
Should we all make a jingle? We'll get our audience to sing along. Something like that. Do you think that's the best way to articulate your solution? No. This is it. Watch this. This is really clever. Now this is in your workbook on page 6. You need to have an outcome which is quantifiable. Filling your workshops is quantifiable. There isn't an empty chair here. The numbers involved. Make sense? That's what you want. These are not taglines. Taglines are things like speak more, speak better, every little helps. You can see the list. Those will not get bums on seats. In fact, if you don't know the brand already, a lot of those things don't make any sense at all. Here's a typical workshop business. 30 tickets at £20, 20 euros, £600 in your pocket. you upserve 10 people in the room because they're really interested, we talked about that, to your mentoring program at 997. That's not a big figure, by the way. You know that, Tony Robbins people, they sell 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever, for this stuff. So what I wanted to share with you is something which is doable. Because anyone been to those speaker, sort of selling from the stage things where they say you can be a millionaire speaker? It's rubbish. Because just because they've done it doesn't mean you're going to do it. So this is doable. When I was running my workshop business, this is the kind of thing we were doing. And I would suggest to you that you could probably do that 6 times a year, maybe 4 times a year. And you're done. So that's realistic, okay? Some of you will never get marketing to ask for help. The bottom Facebook group there, Fill Your Workshops, is my personal workshop if you want to continue with me on there, on social media. Thank you very much. I've been QJ.
Thank you very much, QJ. Certainly didn't let us down. Guess what? I reckon you could have been here all afternoon talking and we'd still be right. Well, I'd say you'd want a fee for that. Listen, I really, really want to thank our speakers, QJ, Lottie, and of course Don and Owen for taking the time to speak. I particularly want to thank you all for taking the time to come along here.